Hi, George here with Affinity Photo Masking. Do you want to be able to remove part of an image just like this without damaging your photo, without losing that background image? The kind of things that using an eraser tool would do. It's easy to do with Affinity Masking. Now what a mask does is it hides parts of a layer. So you can see here, this whole background is hidden, and I can put a different background in here just like this. And before I show you how to use masks, this is just one piece of the Affinity program. If you want to learn everything about Affinity, I do have training for that. I have a video course, and I'll put a link for that at the top of the description. Let me close this one down, and I'll bring up my original image, which is right here. And we can remove this background in here without damaging the image, without deleting any pixels or anything by using masking. Now, the way a mask works is it works right on the layer. And then if we have black areas on the mask, that's going to hide the content. If it's a white area, it's going to show the content. And if it's any form of gray, it's going to be an in-between tone. So you actually can do gradients in here and have images fade or dissolve into a background. If you go over here, right-hand side, this little button right here says Mask Layer. Click on that and it adds a mask onto that layer. If I click my little arrow right here, you see the mask actually has its own separate entity right down there. You see that? There we go. If you click into the mask layer here, and then if I take a black paintbrush, this is a paintbrush right there, have it set at black. You bring my brush size up. You can see the preview in there. I'm actually seeing right through that layer. So if I now make a black streak on here, it looks like it's transparent, like I erased part of this background. But if you look at the mask, what I do is I painted black onto the mask. And that means that I can come in here and change this. If I wanted to bring this back in again, I'll just change my color to white. I'll reverse that. It's now white. And I can then paint that back in again. So I'm not permanently damaging or deleting any pixels in here. I'm just hiding them by using the layer mask. Let me show something else that's kind of fun about layer masks. This is a hard edge brush. Go up here to the top. We have hardness set at 80%. I'll set your hardness at 100%. There we go. Here's a hard edge brush. If I bring my hardness way down to the bottom down here, 0% hardness. This is going to be a soft edge brush. There it is. And notice how we have kind of a fade out happening along that edge. That's an area that has a slight gray tone to it. And that allows us to do subtle transitions in here. We actually can transition from full image to transparent with a real careful fade through by using this. Let me set this back up here to full hard again. One way to use a mask is just to paint in here and take out what you want to get rid of. If I wanted to get rid of this background, I can just come in here and paint like this and take out that background. And I could then drop in something else as a new background. Now there's a problem to this, obviously, and that's that I have this really bad edge over here, and I have this hair in here. Let's do Control Z here and back out of these. There we go. I'm going to set my brush here to white. Let's just bring these back in again. There we go. And let me show you that gradient in here. Now again, I'm on the mask layer. You can see how this is a lighter layer in here. So I'm on a mask layer. And I can pull a gradient in here, just like that. There we go. So going from white at this side, which shows everything, to black over here that hides everything, and have a real subtle gradient in the background. Now, if I put anything else behind this, a new layer down here, we would then see that transition. Let me show you that. I'll bring up another picture in here. And I have this picture. It's kind of a fun one. I'll just float this down here and drag and drop that over here. There we go. And I'll bring it down to the background position and unlock that layer. And there we are. So I'm fading the foreground picture into the background here, right across that gradient that's on the layer mask right there. So real neat tool for doing all kinds of fancy effects in here. But the nice thing is that I haven't damaged anything. If I wanted to come back in here and I'll just hide the mask, there's my full picture. So I haven't damaged or lost any of my picture. I'm just hiding it temporarily using that layer mask right there. So it gives you non-destructive editing. Once you're used to using masks, you'll be using them all the time. I guarantee it. I use masks on almost every single thing I do. Let's not go a little bit further on this one. I'm going to take this mask out. I'll just delete that mask layer. I'll leave my background on there for right now. Something else you can do, which is a real cool trick, that's if you make a selection, you can use that selection to make a layer mask. So if I grab my rectangular marquee tool here, let's just make a marquee like that. That's a selection in the shape of a square. I'll hit this button here. This is the mask layer button. And automatically makes that into a layer mask, hides everything else, but shows that part of my picture. You see it over here on the mask right there. So Control Z, let's just back out of that, and Control D to deselect. Now I can use that trick to easily hide the background on a foreground subject. I'll go over here to this object selection tool. It looks like an owl inside of Affinity Photo, which is Affinity Photo 2. It has a different icon in Affinity Pixel, which is Affinity 3, but it does the exact same thing. Let's click on that. You'll see a stopwatch in here as Affinity figures out this picture. Once it's done doing that, we can then use this to choose which part of the image you want to have selected. Like right here, I'll just scroll over this part of the image here, click on that. It's going to select that for us. There we go. Now, some of the hairs are not inside of my selection. Up along the top up here, right over here, we can fix that. Go up here where it says Refine. Brings up the Refine Selection tool. Click once and just give it a second. This is the first thing it does. It always takes a little longer to figure this thing out on the first click that you do. So always click once and just wait for that. Once you've done that, you can then come in and it goes very, very fast, as you can see. I'm just going to brush over all of these parts that are having some issues, where I can't see the background through it, mostly in the hair. That's looking pretty good. And up along here, and I'll let it take a little break there each pass. Just do little short strokes in here. And this bit right in there, I think that's sky there. Okay, that looks good. I'm not going to bother with all of these settings over here. I talk about that in other videos. We now can come down where it says Output, and let's set this at a mask right there, and click Apply. That automatically gives us a mask. Let me just change my tool here. So we now have just the image with the background removed. I'll hide this other background, and there it is. Now, one of the nice things about this is we can move this part around and just unlock that layer that the girl's on. I can then pull her over here someplace, like that, so she's looking into the picture instead of out of the picture. I can bring our new background in, which is right here, and it now shows in behind her. Let me just get this background positioned properly. If I wanted to have it on farmland, that's fine. I'm going to scroll out using the scroll wheel on the mouse, and I'll stretch this down so I have just clouds in behind her. I think it's a bit more interesting like that. There we go. Control 0 to come back in again. Notice how even our little fine hairs here were brought in beautifully with this technique, and it's all in the layer mask. Now, if I hide that layer mask, it cuts off right here because I moved the picture to the right, but there's the original background. We haven't touched that, haven't damaged that. Using our layer mask, that's now hidden, and I can show anything else I want to in the background. That's how you remove backgrounds from people in pictures. That's how you put new backgrounds into pictures, things I do all the time with my main projects. Whether it's Affinity Photo version 2 or Affinity Pixel version 3, masks work exactly the same way in both versions. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn a whole lot more about how to use Affinity Photo, I do have that complete training course for Affinity Photo, and I'll put a link for that at the top of the description. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and I'll see you next time.